What's up, my guys? We are back in line once again. I am your co-host, JT. First time ever introducing myself on a podcast ever. Thank you for pointing that out, Tiggy Nation. The vibe's a little different in here today. I don't know if you all have noticed yet. You probably haven't because you can't really see us unless you watch on YouTube. We have a third member here with us today. I don't know if you guys know him. He's not super familiar of the pod. He said he was a little nervous to do this, but it is our very own Juice Jerry Jake Nixon. What is up, my guy?
Boys, it's an honor to be back. I apologize first and foremost about my absence. Life hit me fast, and then I got suspended from the Juicebox LLC entity for something that I said in episode 37. But I served my suspension. I'm happy to be here. I miss you guys. Things are starting to finally slow down. I won't be moving back and forth as much anymore, so I'll be here on a more regular basis. Just happy to be back. I'm happy to see you, especially you, Tiggy Nation. What's up, baby?
What up? I'm excited to see you, Jake. Bygones be bygones. We're over the hump now. And now I think it's a good time to have you back. So we're happy you're joining us. Happy JT actually introduced himself for the first time in, all his sessions online. Do you just go to work, JT, and you start a presentation, you just go right in? No, hey, I'm JT. Hey, I'm John. You're just, all right, let's get down to brass tacks.
If I could share you my actual computer screen right now, I would share you a nice PowerPoint I'm a big PowerPoint guy. I have an introductory slide. I have an agenda slide. So I'm all about that. Yeah, I don't know. And the crazy part about it is I never once thought ever in a podcast to myself, I didn't introduce myself. Never thought it once. I'm just glad you brought that to light. That could have been the missing piece the whole time. You never know.
I think I'm the prince of observations. The king would have to be Jerry Seinfeld, but I think I could be the prince. I do a lot of, have you ever noticed that kind of humor? A lot of people are doing it nowadays, but I think I can fit in there as well.
It's kind of amazing how you just found the episode of the podcast in the first 4 minutes, the Prince of Observations. Absolutely love that. And right? Truthfully, for how long we did this, I also never realized that JT never introduced himself ever.
It's interesting because I think the issue is I don't always listen to our episodes because I'm fucking in them. Why would I listen? I've already had the conversations. And I don't know what I was doing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to last episode. I want to make sure, everything sounds good. Because I listened to a little bit when I edit it, but really I'm just chopping it in the front and the back, and then it should be good. So I was kind of listening to it, making sure it sounded good. I talk way too fast. I put the speed at 1.2, 1.3 to 1.5 on all my apps. And I try to, internally, I try to speed it up in my head to match that. But in the cut, when I'm listening on the, at the speed, I'm talking way too fast. So I apologize. I'm going to have to talk slower, but everyone should turn their speed to 1.3, 1.5.
Yeah.
When they listen.
I will say, I find the episodes of podcast better. I can even name some. Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard and the George Janko podcast. You can tell they have some kind of software where it edits out kind of any pause. And I honestly like that. I like when it's going fast, to your point. You know what I mean?
I wonder how expensive that kind of software is. Because, obviously we know it exists. We know it's out there. Because, I know there's that software where, say, I had 2 cameras in here and we were all in here. I'm pretty sure there's a software where when voices pick up, it automatically cuts to that person talking, which is sick. Yeah. But yeah, wait. So first of all, backtracking, Tiki, was that a steak in your hand?
Funny enough, it is a steak. So my roommate Chase and he's a ex-college hockey player. small guy though, like smaller than me, obviously, and that's I guess normal size.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'm gonna
that makes
I'm gonna give a little benefit of the doubt.
that makes someone so small if they're smaller than Tiggy Nation. Like Tiggy Nation's a small person or something. Go on.
Yeah. So he's a normal sized person. That is just a hilarious statement in itself. Anyways, I am the bigger dog if we were dogs, you know. So, and my dad and I would always like, I don't know, we'd watch fighting and we'd wrestle and he'd be putting me in fucking triangle chokes when I was 10, you know. So me and him will wrestle all the time, like just spar, just simple wrestling, no hitting, no striking or anything like that. And he's pretty scrappy. Like he's so compact, it's kind of hard to like get his limbs and put him in an arm bar sometimes. You know what I mean? Because he's smaller than me. So he's much more compact and he's kind of like a big, he's like Ant-Man. He's like Ant-Man in a sense when, you know, Ant-Man is so small, but he's got the strength of a regular human, you know? So when he hits, it fucking, you know, exponentially hurts more. He's kind of like that. He's very compact, very strong. So sometimes it's kind of tough to wriggle him free and put him in a submission, you know? So we're wrestling and I forget what happened. Somehow I end up like chasing him around the dinner table. It's like a Tom and Jerry skit basically. And somehow I'm like trying to get to him. I don't know if we've been drinking, probably have. And I kind of slipped around a chair and I banged my knee into the bar cart. And this was, I think, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. And no visible bruise. It's kind of sore. But today I like struggled to stand up a little bit. And
Tiggy Nation.
I don't know if it's a recipe of me just getting old plus me acting like I'm 10. But now I'm icing my knee with a steak as we record right now because we didn't have any ice packs. So I was like, boom, steak, too easy.
Why are you always hurting yourself? Come on.
I get asked that a lot. I like on my right knee, I have this scab. I'm going to show the camera like right here. And usually that'll happen on softball, like if I dive for a ball or something like that. I literally have no idea how I got the scab on my knee. Have no clue. It just appeared one day. And then when it's healing, there'll be one night where I'll just pick it to all belief and I'm bleeding all over my bed. I'm a Neanderthal to that degree, and that's going to happen. And then, you know, I got like, dude, I have like scars on my arm from like picking cuts and stuff apart. And I just have scars on my arm now. And I get asked all about them. And I literally have to be like, no, I have no self-control and I'm picking my scabs apart.
But are you like a guy that when somebody asks, you're like, well, see, this scar was when I was walking around the park and I tripped in the rock. And then this one was from when I ran into the pole at Lowe's. Like, do you have stories for your scars? Because I feel like it's got to be something. If you have the scars, you at least need to make stories up for your scars to make it sound like, oh, you know, this one was when I was fishing out in the Atlantic Ocean and I bent over and the fish nibbled my finger type deal.
That's pretty good. I never really thought about that. The only good scar I have is probably the back of my neck. I'll try to show the camera here. I don't know if we can see that. Can we see that? Let's pretend like we can. Let's pretend like we can. So that actually was from a hockey skate in high school. I think actually Matt Leonard, who we all know, shout out Matt. But I think one of his skates came up. We kind of like tumbled into the boards and I was just bleeding all practice, had no idea. And then I felt it after. I'm like, holy shit, I'm bleeding. Med Express, 8 stitches later, boom. So now I have the scar on the back of my neck. I should relate all my scars to hockey. I think overall hockey is such a gritty and intense sport where you can be like, oh, these are just scars from hockey. You know, like, you know, I got cut and then so much practice, so much games. They just keep getting cut open. They just scar over. Like, it's just hockey, you know? So I like that. I'm going to have to create some
freaking hockey.
Yeah, just hockey. Speaking of hockey, hockey's back. I think first game was last night or 2 nights ago or something like that. Couple nights ago, and then
Utah Hockey Club got their first dub. I saw,
dude, that place looks electric. That place is awesome.
It doesn't surprise me knowing just the history of how they pack out Jazz games, and I think I'm trying to remember. I think his name's Ryan Smith.
That's their team name.
Yeah, it's sick.
That is so fire. That is fire. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, he's been on the Pat McAfee show a couple times. Seems like a very, very cool dude. I know that they were doing. I'm pretty sure the fans were voting for the name. Like it was at 8, and then now it's down to 4. But I think they're sticking with Hockey Club for this season. I know one of the big pushes was the Utah Soakers. That's what they were pushing on the McAfee show. But I'm a personal fan. Like I think Washington should have stayed the Washington Football Club. I love the Utah Hockey Club. Just pretty cool in general. First game ever in Utah, and they get a win. That's
so the Hockey Club is a finalist. The name, which is fire. Ones? Utah Blizzard, that's fire. Utah Hockey Club, Utah Mammoth, Utah Outlaws, Utah Venom, and Utah Yeti.
Oh, I like the Yeti. Utah Yetis are fire.
Utah Yeti has it rolls off the tongue. Like, I don't think there's a better state to have Yeti as their name than the Utah Yeti. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one would want to hear about like the Nebraska Yeti, you know? Like it flows off the tongue. So that's pretty cool.
Which we'll go back to hockey here in a second, but did you guys see the video that came out of Oklahoma City last week or 2 weeks ago? It was, and I showed this to Christy, and Christy was like, this looks real. That it was as real as a video that I've ever seen of a Bigfoot caught on camera in real life ever. Like, this dude was walking through trails or whatnot, and he like posts up by a tree, and it looks like an orangutan. Like,
yeah, I did see it, yeah.
I mean, so what's your thoughts? Do we think it's real? I mean, obviously the answer is going to be no, Bigfoots aren't real, yada, yada. But in terms of all those Bigfoot videos that we've seen forever, that was as clear as a Bigfoot that we've ever seen. Like, what, you know, when we see this stuff, all the big thing is like, oh, why is it always so fuzzy? Why is the video not load in HD, yada, yada. This one was pretty legit, I think.
Yeah. No, I do agree. It does look very promising. It's just, you never freaking know what is real and not real anymore, which is so scary, but it's true. Like, these dubs of people saying stuff that's not even real, like with AI, and it even changes the video to it's looking like that's what they're actually saying. I'm like, how do you know anything? But I agree. It does look very real. It does look like an orangutan. Did you say it was in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like Oklahoma City, because I sent it to my buddy Chuck that I work with, and I just said, "You ain't sly. I know this is you."
Yeah, here. Yeah, here it is. It really does look real. Tiggy Nation, if look it up real fast if you're able to. It is. I will say it is the most real Bigfoot video I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's the infamous one of the one walking from far away where he's kind of walking like the Grinch with his hands and swinging his hands, but everybody's kind of debunked that one. I mean, I don't know. Obviously,
but then you're like, is it just a guy in a suit? You know,
exactly, because it's the face. It's the face that troubles me, because it looks fake, but also it looks so. The body itself looks like a big ass orangutan monkey with like a human-esque looking face, to where and the guy, he's eating or whatever it is. I don't know. I saw it, and it kind of blew me away.
You know what? I mean, it looks so good, but all of these videos that have ever got posted ever since ET, you know, there's never a full clear picture. To some extent, you know, just like the UFOs, they're always, it's just not, for some reason, it's not in HD mode, this camera, you know, it's like Snapchat on Androids are the only way they're getting these videos. But it does look pretty clear, but then it like keeps shaking a little bit, and it keeps going out of frame. And it's like, again, I don't know what I would be freaking out too if I was that close. It looks like he's within 50 yards. You know what I mean? Deep in the wilderness. So yeah, pretty fucking scary, but you know, There's a lot of argument. There's an argument there.
Well, it's just like in the wood. Like that's the one thing about the woods is there's still so much woodland area in this whole country that nobody normally walks through, or like what's the word, habitats or whatever it is that you never know. Like I saw a picture of a wild boar that was shot in Logan County, West Virginia, because wild boar now are all of a sudden popping up everywhere here. And that thing is massive. So it's like, dude, if these like wild boar can just sneak around in the woods, you never know about old
Jake,
Yeti boy.
What about the squad of boars I sent you running across the street?
Dude, that was like, what, 25 deep of just a whole squad, a mixture of adults with teenagers and babies. It was adorable.
It was pretty fire. No, but I agree. And I am a sucker for believing in all that stuff. I really am. Haven't got into it a whole lot lately, but I am. Like, I'm not like, I 100% believe a Bigfoot could be out there. And I believe there's probably multiple of them. It's not just one freaking guy, you know?
Do you think it's a family?
Yeah, like I just think it's probably some kind of animal or whatever.
I don't mean family. I don't mean family in terms of like Genesis, not Genesis, genus or species, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean family like that. I mean, like, what if it was one family? Like it was the Nixon family. This is, this whole family and just all the offspring are just monstrous beings that grow hair relentlessly.
Could be a weird freaking inbred type deal that never freaking evolved or whatever. Definitely. I don't know.
Maybe it's a what'd you say? Inbreed? What was it? Inbreed?
Inbred, yeah.
Inbred? What if it's an outbred? What if some apes are just absolutely destroying a human or something like that, and like these things are popping out or something?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Or vice versa.
But to be honest, like, why wouldn't that be a thing? And obviously you can't cross a human with a freaking zebra or something. But like you see the shit with big cats and stuff. Why wouldn't there be a gorilla, orangutan, chimpanzee out there somewhere? You know?
Who's to say?
Like, why not?
Who's to say? I mean, they will talk about history where supposedly the biggest lion that ever existed was in North America. And then we just kind of eliminated that line. So dude, I'm fully convinced that Yeti's real, that Bigfoot's real. They have a whole underground neighborhood underneath the country, and they live here. I think it's all right to think that. Yeah. I mean, dude, you saw those people that were living underneath New York City that came out of the drains and whatnot. Like, again, who's to say that Yetis couldn't do that underneath trees?
Yeah, the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
You know?
Donatello.
Yeah.
But all right, sorry. Yeah, back to hockey, Tiggy Nation. How the Flyers going to be? I know this is your sport. I think we had a couple games last night. There's probably a bunch of games today. I think it's just wild. We're in hockey season, but I'm happy hockey's back. Hockey's a fun sport to watch.
Hockey's an incredible sport to watch. It's fantastic to play, and it's just an exciting time. It happens at the same exact time as basketball. And they actually did a Utah. I think that was where UFC was last weekend as well. With Perrier. Is it Perrier? Pereira? Alex Pereira. You know, the freaking hunter he is. Yeah, but they did a little time lapse. They did the UFC, took it down, put it up for basketball. I guess the Jazz had a preseason game, took it down, then put the ice right back up. And it's so cool that that's just being used for so many events. The issue with that stadium, on each end, there's a section where you can only see the opposite goal. You can't see the goal straight down. So they're offering those at very discounted rates because of it. But it's that kind of stinks because just imagine a couple sections of hundreds of people that don't get to see the full game. It's a little strange. So that's interesting. But like you said, Utah, very big sports town, and it's cool. The issue with Utah, though, is the alcohol. And there's only one place you can buy alcohol in that whole stadium, I guess. And you have to drink it in that closed off area before you leave, like the restaurant or bar or whatever.
What?
So you basically
That's wild.
you got to
Is that
go
like
up
a
there,
law?
buy, yug your drink, and then go back down, I guess.
That's strange. But no, speaking of funny seats in stadiums, that's how my first hockey experience was in Mellon. I remember when me and my dad took me up to watch the Penguins versus the Capitals, I think back in 08, 09, whatever year they won the cup, and literally our seat, like where I was sitting, there was just a massive cement thing that went across the vision, and there was just a little TV that showed the actual game. So obviously very different, but similar in the same right.
Damn.
That's weird how some stadiums are. I know there's a guy on Twitter that intentionally buys bad seats like that to see what the views are, and it's kind of funny content. What else? So yeah, just a little like preview of what the season is. Flyers I think should be pretty decent. Then again, they should have got a playoff spot last year. I think they had an 80% chance in January, and they failed to make the postseason. They lost, I think it felt like 15 of the last 17 games. So hopefully they're rebuilding. They got a very good young core, and a couple of their draft picks have committed and are playing over. This Russian kid, Michkov or something, is unreal. So he's going to be scoring a lot of goals. I think the Pens will be decent. I think they could potentially make the playoffs. They'll be a bubble team, see if they can get in, kind of like last year. But I mean, when you have Crosby and Malkin, anything's kind of possible. Just kind of depends.
When do we get to the point where it's like Crosby and Malkin aren't a factor? I don't think that's the case this year, but they are getting old. I mean, I know it's big. I saw Sid kind of restructured his contract or took like a hometown deal or whatever it was to kind of create some more money, I believe. But like, I guess that's kind of the difference between hockey and football. It's one thing when a quarterback does it, like Rodgers or Brady, when they're just kind of dropping back, throwing the ball, running a little bit. But hockey's like a full body sport. So I just wonder, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm saying that, and Yager did it for a while, but I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby, I think, had a point per game last year. He's averaged well over that his whole career. It's his 20th year in the league this year, which is kind of fucking wild to think about. And, he's still putting up numbers. You mentioned kind of like he took a hometown deal. He's been taking that since he got into the league. After his rookie contract, the only amount he's ever signed has been $8.7 million.
Really?
I
did not know that.
And he obviously wears 87, and I don't know if that was intentional, but hockey has the smallest salary cap when it comes to professional sports. There were many graphs that came out a couple months ago of how NHL players get paid, and NHL actually gets paid more by the tickets of the games, like going to the games. Their players, that's how they pay more of their players, is from ticket sales. Mostly other sports like baseball and football is from a lot of TV rights and deals and stuff like that from the networks. So it makes it very unique in that sense, but mainly, I guess, not enough people are watching hockey, and that's how they get paid based off the ticket prices. But the salary cap's so low. I think it's like $80 million, and you got 20 players fully rostered at times, but then you probably have like 25, 26 up to with like injuries and IR and stuff like that. So try to think how you're going to fit 20 some players in an $86 million salary cap when you have multiple superstars making over like $12 million a year. It's extremely tough to compete in already a super competitive league that, like you mentioned, is super hard hitting and physical, tolls on your body. People get injured all the time. And Sid has had a couple years where he's dealt with concussions and a couple other injuries, but he's still playing hard. But the $8.7 million, Sidney Crosby is still a top 5 player in the league. Still. There was at times, probably a whole decade, where he was unanimously number 1 or number 2. He's still a top 5 in the league in terms of playmaking, in terms of how he leads the team. And when he's on the ice, it's just a different game you're watching. So the fact that there's guys that are around the same caliber making, potentially $5-6 million more than him a year enables the Penguins to be, like you said, be able to maneuver more money to put them in places to win. And that's been one of the main recipes why they've won 3 cups with Sid and Malkin. Because Malkin, a great player as well, but when Sid's only making 8.7, you can't pay Malkin more. You can't pay anyone more than Crosby because he's the best player. So if your stars are taking deals, everyone else has to take a hometown deal. And Sid's able to do that. Sid wants to do that because it's funny enough. So I'm going to mention something a little later, but winning is more important than anything, than any term individual accolade. And I think that's why hockey is extremely different. You know, a lot of people compare it to the basketball because basketball, it's a different kind of strain on your body when it comes to the hard courts, but they are taking games off for load management all the time. Same with kind of baseball, but baseball plays 150 million games. Basketball, they play the same amount as hockey. They have a little less travel, and I don't know. It's just skating's a whole different element added onto it. So a lot of people compare it to basketball, but basketball, the lowest guys are making what, $15 million a year. You know, it's a fucking joke when it comes down to it. But there's this series called Face Off Inside the NHL that dropped on Amazon Prime last week, I believe. Yeah, last week, October 3rd, it dropped. And it is a six episode miniseries. And it's kind of like, I'm going to mention Hard Knocksy, you know, but it basically follows a couple players, and it's the playoffs of last year. And it's very cool individual stories where you're following the team through certain players' eyes. And, you know, they have like one of their best friends on the other team they're playing that have played together since teenagers. You know, they've mentioned guys who have overcome adversity with injuries, guys that haven't played for a year and a half due to injuries, guys that are on their contract year and holding out for millions and millions of dollars. And it's very interesting to see kind of how they show emotion and what they care about when it comes down to it for winning a championship. And spoiler alert, Connor McDavid is obviously going to be the athlete they follow for the Edmonton Oilers, who finished second this year in the Cup. They have shown so much footage of behind the scenes of the Edmonton Oilers that no one's ever seen. You know, game 2, they're down 0-2. He's screaming in the locker room, it's not fucking good enough. It's not fucking good enough. So they lose in game 7. They go down 3 games. They win 3 more. And then they lose in game 7. He wins the MVP of the entire playoffs, the Conn Smythe Award. You know, it's incredibly hard to win, obviously. It's incredibly hard to win on the losing team. And many people, including myself, thought it was like, you know, kind of a name thing. You know, he did beat Gretzky's record, which is something to accomplish. But I think it's very weird to have the best player in the tournament on a losing team. Irregardless, they're going to the locker room because they just lost. They did the handshake. The other team's celebrating. They're mentioning the MVP, and this NHL content guy's coming up to him like, hey, you won the Conn Smythe. Like, they want you to go out there and accept it. And he's like, now? And they're like, yeah. And they kind of show the commissioner announcing the award and stuff like that. And they show back to McDavid. McDavid's like, no. Like, I'm not doing that right now. And then he goes back to the locker room, and he's in the locker room with his boys. And one of the other veteran guys are kind of talking, and he's just sitting there like bawling his eyes out, crying. You know, he doesn't care about the individual award. And they ask him about it, you know, about the Conn Smythe, and like, are you happy you won? Like, stuff like that. He's like, I don't, you know, these trophies they don't mean anything. They like, these don't mean anything. All the medals he's won before, it doesn't mean anything because all they care about is hoisting that Stanley Cup and getting their name on that trophy is what they care about. So it's just very interesting, and you're going to see players take pay cuts like that to win, and that's what matters. Winning is so important. Now, I will say Connor McDavid's a little different because Connor McDavid's getting paid like $12-13 million, whereas Sidney Crosby getting paid $8.7. Obviously, inflation has changed a little bit, and I do not think Connor McDavid does not deserve that money. But if winning is the most important thing, it's very hard to set that fucking bar so high, and then you're struggling to find cap space to put in the pieces you need to win. One of them being goaltending, which their goalie played fairly well, but that's been their issue in the past, has been goaltending. So we're going to see how they do this year. But one of his line mates, Leon Draisaitl, I think, is now making $14 million a year. And it, again, it's like, that's sick. Oh, he's getting paid big money. But it's in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, they're not going to fucking win now. Like, they don't have money to win.
It kind of surprises me too. Excuse me. It kind of surprises me too that hockey doesn't have like a baseball model in terms of like no caps, because maybe I'm just out of it and maybe it's just markets and whatnot, but it kind of, and obviously people can pull stats up and probably prove me wrong right now, but it's hard for me to believe that more people watch baseball than hockey, but they must, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
So I will say what baseball has going for them is they just have more games, I think, is honestly like the issue. Baseball has what? It's double the games minus 2. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like 180 or like 182 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, they play 162. Hockey plays 82, so it's 2 less than double what hockey and NBA does. One thing I love, and I think I mentioned it on here, is one thing I love that baseball does is they'll go to a city and they'll spend 3-4 days. They'll play a whole series of games. I think the NHL could benefit so well from doing that model instead of spending just one night playing there, driving the next or flying out that same night to another city to play a different team. It's like, dude, why don't you spend a 3-day weekend in Pittsburgh? You know what I mean? And you play 2 to 3 games. Cool. You're out of that city. I think that would go so well. I think it would allow players to kind of, one, enjoy themselves more, enjoy the city, and 2, just get a little sense of like relaxation that you're not going to be traveling so much. And I think it's going to save money when it comes down to the travel cost too.
No, I agree. That is a very, very good point. And it's like, yeah, baseball does, like you said, they'll stay in a place for a whole weekend or a week and play a couple games. You would think for a hockey's perspective on a way to help kind of, because you're always trying to grow the game. You're always trying to grow eyes. Like it kind of reminds me of like a concert or a comedy show. Normally you have somebody there Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday and whatever it would be. And if you can't go on this day, you go on the other day. But the big thing that jumped out to me when you said that is definitely body. Like, it's definitely wear and tear. Like, I mean, it is crazy. You'll have, like, same with football, except there's less football games. You'll have these teams that'll fly halfway across the country, play a game, and then just have to go back. Like, yeah, no, I agree with you. I do think that would make more sense in terms of trying to help grow the sport, because it would just give people more of an opportunity to go see a game, knowing that, okay, well, the team I want to go see is here for 2 nights in the next 4 days. We can either go to both or we got to go to one. So no, that show's cool. I didn't realize they were having a show like that, but I do love the peek behind the curtain type shows. You get to see.
Makes me think of Full Speed on
Yes.
the NASCAR Netflix show.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I love documentary, like kind of docuseries like that. It's extremely cool, like Jake said, to see behind the curtain and see how they operate, just see how they react and like their emotions. And all these guys are very good looking guys. You see their wives, some of them are about to have kids, like some of them have kids, and you get to see, it's like, like this guy David Pasternak, he's like, I used to just sleep in until 11 on game days. Now I'm up early because I want to spend time with my daughter, and like this is quality time, and I'm not going to be playing forever, but I want to make sure I'm up when I can, and I don't want to miss the first steps and stuff. And it's like, it's fucking cool. It's fucking cool to see these big time athletes just be normal humans.
Do we think Netflix?
Amazon.
Yeah.
Might have to watch that one.
Do we think hockey as a whole has the most good looking players in the league? Like, if you had to pick a league, like, I guess if you had to rank all 4, what would be the looks, the best looking to the bottom? Like this, it's kind of hard. Yeah.
I think hockey players across the board have just a different kind of like swagger to them, So I think that's a fair assessment. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe like, I don't know what would be next. Maybe like baseball. And then football and basketball are kind of the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I think football is definitely last, just in terms of you have to, no offense to the uglies, but like there's more ugly linemen on the field.
That was my point.
Else.
Yeah. And then you have just like big ass dudes in the NBA who just are like freak of nature looking people. So yeah, I think we ranked that pretty good. Yeah. NFL probably be last.
I agree too. And I mean, not that I would ever bring race into it, but like, if you like black guys, you're probably going to steer more towards basketball and football, I would say.
That is true. That is very true.
And
just
then
a fact.
And if you like Latin or Hispanic, I mean, you're going to gravitate towards baseball or maybe even soccer, you know?
Let's talk about baseball real quick because, you know, I'm like a Hispanic man. I don't know how
Good segue right there, JT. Very good.
I don't know how they do, like, because I don't watch baseball. I'll tune in. Like, I'll watch some Braves or watch some playoffs. How they're wearing all their big-ass chains and shit. I'm like, how do you play in this? Like, how do you run? How does this not bother you? Is it really all about the bling, you know, and what you can show? I know it's about a brand. Like, as a player in any sport, you have your brand, like you do. But like some of these guys, like, have these crazy chains and big ass gloves that like go down to here, and I'm like, God dang, dude. And like I was watching the Braves game, play is it the wild card game? I don't know. They didn't win. I don't know what player it was. Can't remember. Obviously, the Braves are blue and red for the most part, right? He's got highlighter yellow gloves on and highlighter yellow cleats on. I'm like, God dang. It looks cool, but I'm like, that's a lot going on there.
Well, speaking of bling, like, I'm pretty sure it was Malik Neighbors, who's a rookie receiver for the Giants now from LSU. He wears like a massive Cuban chain around his neck when he's playing receiver. And I'm like watching him on Red Zone. And, you know, I mean, obviously, if you're used to playing with something on, it can't really affect you much. But I do agree. Like, you do tend to see more and more in like football, baseball, just these guys. Like, again, the infamous Aqib Talib, Michael Crabtree, Broncos, Raiders, big rivalry when Talib would snatch Crabtree's chain every game on purpose just to say snatch his chain. So I don't know. It is crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Because when we were kids, when we're playing sports, we're supposed to hide our jewelry, you know, like we're supposed to put it, like tuck it in or take it off and stuff like that. And the baseball, they are not small chains at all. Like you said, JT. I mean, these things weigh pounds around their necks. And I would think, you know, there's some things I can't do with I take my watch off, you know, and that's a couple ounces. So I couldn't even imagine, I don't know, just having that dangling around. So I don't know. That's why they're different. And we're here talking about them right now, I guess.
You know what? That's it. That's really it. That's why they're built different. And we're just freaking sitting here.
Yeah.
But to the football point, we got a couple things going on. I know Jake has probably some stuff he wants to talk about. First off, Kirko Chains, the Atlanta Falcons, doing the swag surf. What a freaking guy. Huge. I mean, I've always liked Kirk. I like him 10 times more now. That is just so badass. Have you seen the clip where it's like he's talking about it and he's like, so the song starts playing, but it's really about when the beat drops, you know? And then they flash to the game and he's like doing this. I'm like, this is so sick, you know?
I love Kirk, man. I mean, Kirk's one of those guys getting up there in age. I think he's 35, 36, but like talking about a guy going back to the McDavid thing, a guy that just wants to win. Like, and I remember when we were watching the quarterback show, JT, that 1 or 2 episodes where he is just hurt and he's in pain with the Vikings and he's just moaning and whining the entire game. And every time he gets hit, he's like, you know, hurt, but he just is out there doing the thing. I mean, shout out Kirk. Obviously, I have a little bias towards the Falcons, not because you live there, but just because we were in the Death Star for Kenny Chesney and how cool that whole stadium is now.
It really is
shout out Kirkers. But yeah, no, football season's in full swing. Yeah, really, I was down bad in September, early September. I really thought, I was like, I waited all year for my 2 favorite teams to start playing, and they're both going to be ass cheeks.
Yeah.
Saturday night, 8 p.m., Fox, look for me. I'll be at the Coal Rush. I'll be in there with the Miner hats on. Iowa State Cyclone Larry's coming to town. Very, very excited about that. Obviously, the Penn State loss, the Pitt loss, that hurts. That's gonna suck. That's always gonna suck, especially the Pitt loss. But the fact that we're in this new golden age of college football, where we'll really only get the big effect this year and probably next year of the 12-team playoff, it is fascinating to think that, hypothetically speaking, you can go 0-3 in non-conference, win your conference, and get in the playoff. I think that's the cool part of college football. I think that brings us an element to the game that we've never seen, where before, when we were growing up, pretty much college football, you lost one game, maybe two, your season's done. It doesn't matter. You could go 10-2, 11-2, be a conference winner. Season's over. Season's a failure to some people's eyes. Now we're to the point where, we're in a league. I'm Big 12 biased, obviously, because that's what W views him, where the league's wide open. Literally anybody can win the league. Anybody can sneak in. I'm to the point, though. I hate to say it. I am ready for a regime change. I think I'm not one of those WVU fans that is actively rooting for WVU to lose for a coaching change. I can't stand that shit. If you want to tank it for a draft pick, that's one thing. But if you just lose games to get a coach fired, that's dumb. I don't think anybody in their heart of hearts really wants that. I think Neil Brown, though, is a resilient dude. I mean, from last year, kind of the same thing where we were kind of down and out. It turns the season around, makes it to a bowl game, gets a big win against North Carolina, didn't show up against Penn State, blew the Pitt game. I mean, winning by 10 with 3 minutes to go and losing, I don't care. That should never happen. We are to the point, though, I believe this is Neil Brown's biggest home conference game in his tenure at West Virginia so far. You got a undefeated Iowa State team coming in. They're number one in the Big 12. They're 5-0. They have a win against a Big 10 school. Their quarterback's father was an absolute stud at WVU at tight end. Rocco's the quarterback's name. His dad's named Anthony. He is the coach of the XFL team, the Seattle Battlehawks. So that's pretty cool. I think honestly too, another cool part is we're getting more West Coast exposure. Like this week we have Penn State going to USC. Last week we had Michigan going to Washington. Like, not saying West Coast football was never, I don't want to say dominant, but there was never eyes on it. The games were always late at night, and if you didn't have a dog in that fight, you weren't really staying up to watch those games. It's cool that all these conference has like their after dark games, like Big 12 after dark, Big 10 after dark, ACC after dark. So I think conference realignment gets old, but it brings visibility to different schools and just different players that you wouldn't normally watch. So I think college football wise, I can't believe I'm about to say it, but WVU's in there just as much as anyone would be. The boy GG's just got to do. GG just has to be GG. Like what he did against Kansas, what they did last week. If they can have fun on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be hard for anybody to beat us. It's just a matter of consistency.
Yeah, and I will say it's cool because it seems like there is a lot of wide openness going on across the board. There were a lot of upsets last week. You have these outlier teams that could make the playoff now. Like you have that crazy running back from Boise State, whatever his face is, Ashton
Gentry. And I tell you what, if they make the playoffs, there's not going to be a single school in the country that's going to want to play them first round, regardless if it's home or not.
Yeah.
That's the other cool part is the group of five, highest ranked group of five school gets in automatically, which is awesome.
Yeah, so it is really exciting. I think it'll be a good a fun game to watch. Coal Rush. I do agree. I mean, this is again another game that has so much build up to it to where you can't go out there and shit the bed, like we did against Penn State and Pitt. When's the last? I could be completely blanking. When's the last time we beat a ranked team? Has it been a long time? Probably.
I'm gonna be honest.
Ever?
I don't know. I don't know the last time we've beat a top 15 school in the Neil Brown era, if ever. And I hate to say that. I don't think it's happened, honestly. I know we've had upset wins when we were pretty bad, end of the year type wins, but I don't know if we've beat a top 15 school since Neil Brown's been the coach.
Yeah. No, I think that's probably definitely right. It's just like I was like, man, when's the last time we ever beat a ranked team?
Because the other crazy factor of it all is like, obviously the Big 12 itself thinks that we can do what we think we can do because we have 2 back-to-back night games. Tell me the last time West Virginia, since I've been alive, has had 2 home night games in one season. So we play Iowa State this week, and then we play K-State at home next week at 7:30. So like, obviously they're seeing that we are better than our record indicates. It's just a matter of, do we run out and shit the bed like it seems is kind of a trend lately?
Yeah, for sure. If we beat Iowa State, could we be ranked?
So
Not quite there yet.
Here's my answer. I don't want to be ranked if we beat Iowa State. That would put us at 4-2 and 3-0 in the Big 12. Now, if we beat Iowa State and beat K-State and we're sitting there at 5-2, 4-0 in the Big 12, I could easily see us being in the top 20 at least. Maybe the top 15, because again, you hate losses, but you can't ignore the fact that both of the teams we've lost to are still undefeated.
Yeah, for sure. No, I know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Definitely excited to see the unis.
Yeah, dude. And I made sure that's going to be Christie's first game in Morgantown. I made sure, brother, we're lower level section. We are in row 2. Your boy is going to, oh, dude. I Piggy Nation, literally before the season started, when those Coal Rush jerseys came out, I tried to go through the schedule, and I was like, which game is going to be the game that they might wear these for? And I picked Iowa State, one, because I knew Iowa State was going to be decent. They were good last year. I knew they were going to be good this year. But they call this game for some reason the Riot Bowl. Like, that's the only Big 12 game where we have like a nicknamed game. And I was like, dude, if they're going to wear all black, it's going to be the Riot Bowl. So bought those tickets so early, dude. I'm so excited, man. Like, and so going back to, I called Mom earlier because I was all excited. Obviously, there's shitty parts of the internet and social media, but one of the coolest things that's going on right now in the WVU Twitter fan base is all of a sudden all the burner accounts started black and whiting their Twitter images. And then you see all of a sudden Ren Baker does it. And then Gordon Gee does it. Neil Brown just did it today. All the coaches. Oh
God, that just makes me so nervous, though.
It's fire. Wesley Godwin did it. It's
fire. That's real. I'm about to do it. Do it.
You should do it, and then
because I'm a big West Virginia University figure. I have to do it.
That's right.
People are counting on me.
That's right. So let's go, boys. Let's go.
That is actually I didn't realize that. That is super fire. I did see the hype video of it, and it was even cooler because it was just like crickets of zooming into I think it was, the stadium, not the campus, either one. Zoomed in like a drone of WVU, and it's just crickets, and then it just turns to black and white. I'm like, this is sick. This is pretty sick.
Dude, and the halftime show, they're doing a halftime drone light show. So excited about that. And they They just put new lights in the stadium that we've seen, like that all the big colleges have, where like the lights flicker and the LEDs go crazy and whatnot. We have those now, so I'm sure the lighting will be wild in there. I think this is definitely the biggest weekend of college football in terms of ranked matchups, if I remember correctly. There's like Ohio State goes to Oregon. That's 2 versus 3. Penn State goes to USC. There's another big one. The Red River rivalries this weekend too.
Oh,
Oklahoma
nice.
and Texas. So there's a lot of big games. Very, very pumped about this weekend. Looking forward to it.
No, that's exciting. I'm definitely excited to watch. Well, I got to figure it out. My TV just kind of broke. It just gave out, I guess. Like it's on, but the screen is not. So I'm gonna have to figure something out there. And it's actually crazy how dark it got in like 10 minutes right now.
Oh, it's like pitch black outside right now. It's crazy.
I'm like, what the frick? I was like, is the hurricane coming over here?
Milty? Yeah, dude, speaking of that, I mean, I guess we can touch on it since you brought it up. Kind of crazy to think that like that's the biggest storm hurricane that has happened since we've been alive in terms on paper, which is wild.
Yeah, I was going to say allegedly.
Yeah.
I have been watching the radar. It does look pretty crazy. It's coming straight, probably, I mean, right now, like hitting Tampa, which is pretty scary. Yeah. It's weird. Like the past couple weeks have been very just weather weird, you know.
Speaking of weather weird, this weekend I'm going to a game of my own, actually. Well, not my game, but I'm going to go see some hockey at Arizona State University.
Nice.
And
that'll be sick.
Arizona State University, you know, big time party school. It was right with us at W for, you know, all eternity for a minute. Then we kind of got our act together, and now we're a studious university all of a sudden, and we stink at sports. So I'm heading to Arizona State because, one, it's so close, but Arizona State actually is I'm going to say professional, but it's like a D1 hockey school now. They got a big infusion of money probably a decade ago. And with that money and like school kind of like backing, the whole intent was to be a D1 program. It's like, fuck yeah, really cool. So they're now D1, and they've now joined this league, the NCHC, which is basically, I don't know what it stands for. Let me see if I can find out the acronym right now. The National Collegiate Hockey Conference. But basically, they're joining teams like Denver, North Dakota, UMD Bulldogs, that's Minnesota Duluth, St. Cloud College. Or is it St. Cloud College?
St. Cloud State Huskies.
St. Cloud State, but that's also in Minnesota. Western Michigan, Miami of Ohio, Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska, kind of like the outlier. Miami of Ohio, very good hockey school as well. They got a big funding like a long time ago. I remember we played a game at their facility. Dude, it was like an NHL style arena. It was crazy. But all these teams have now accepted Arizona State as part of their league, which is fucking sick. Last year, Arizona State beats Denver in overtime in Arizona State. So they've been like beating top 10 schools for a minute now. And yeah, it's fucking sick that they're in this league. It's sick that they're right here. And this weekend, they're playing 2 games against Michigan Wolverines, who, you know, up there, Michigan, Minnesota is like the heart of college hockey when it comes down to it. They wear the blue helmets with the yellow stripes, just like football. It's going to be fucking sick.
Dude, that is sick. I always forget that you're right there because it's just so strange that they're in the Big 12. So, like, I'm hoping, I mean, obviously I know, like, I don't know if Arizona's your end game or whatnot, but I'm sure, like, within the next couple of years, WV will be playing out there. They play Arizona this year, which I can't remember. Is that in Glendale?
No, that's Arizona's actually in Tucson. So
Tucson.
It's like 2 hours south. I actually was looking at going. It was, I think it's October 26th. It's going to be there. But when we lost the backyard brawl, I was like, I'm not going anymore. Not fucking going. I was going to try to do a weekend trip. I thought it would have been cool, but instead, Bowling for Soup is going to be in the area, so I might go see that.
Oh yeah,
hell yeah.
dude. Let's go. I'm not even gonna make my claim for you to go to the game. Going and seeing Bowling for Soup would be sick.
Right? Dude, it's at like the sick open venue.
The wall? She never had it all.
It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna come in that venue.
Coming right now.
But yeah, so I'm excited for that, and it's gonna be in the big arena that is actually where the Coyotes played last year. You know, now
dude. Speaking of the Coyotes, they have the sickest logo.
Very cool.
I kind of just discovered it like recently.
The old school one. The old school one.
The old one, right? Yeah. Of the Coyote, obviously, just holding the stick there. That is just so fire. I just want to buy a hat with that.
Yeah, I want to. Out here, you can get like different license plates, and that's one of the license plates ones you can get.
No way.
So I was debating on that one. They also have a cool golf one as well, which like I'm debating on which one to get. But it's like a $25 a year renewal, which I'm fine to pay it, I think. But the hockey one would be cool. But I'm mad I never got to see him play out here. So
JT Stevenson Ranch has a collab with the Arizona Coyotes too. Like there's merch, like hats and shorts and whatnot before.
Let me just look real fast. How about
now,
that?
Tiggy Nation, the plan is to still bring a hockey team back there, though, correct? This was a whole ordeal with they wanted a new arena funding and whatnot, and then people weren't going to the games, and that Ryan Smith kind of swooped up. But I thought the original plan was them to try to bring an expansion team there. Maybe not.
I don't know. I think it just didn't work. I think I don't know if it's the fans here, but what makes probably the most sense financially and geographically would be to have it downtown with the basketball arena. Like downtown, the basketball arena's at, and you could just use the same. It's similar to the same dimensions, and that's like we're seeing that with wherever, Utah, Salt Lake City, and other venues like Ball Arena in Denver. That's where the Nuggets play. That's where the Avalanche play. There's a lot of instances where that's the same. So that would just be the easiest. I guess they used to in the early 2000s. Then they moved it out to Glendale, which is where the football stadium is. And then they moved it to Scottsdale. Then they moved it to Tempe. And then they were going to have a new facility in North Scottsdale. And I think they were just like, why are we paying for all these fucking stadiums? If like, what's the issue? Because it sounds like just the issue is people aren't showing up and they're not making any money, you know?
Well,
so
because I know that was one of the kind of reviews or whatnot of when people were talking about how the Final Four was just out there. Is like, it's cool to have it in Arizona. It's cool to have it out west, but nothing's close. Like everything's so spread out to where like when we went in Indy back in 2010, like each corner or each street was a team bar, team street. Whereas if I understood it correctly, like when they had it out there, it's like everything was like 20, 30 minutes separated for each kind of quadrant, I guess you could say. So I don't know. I mean, but dude, that's so tight though that you're going to go see that hockey game. I wish college hockey was big in this area. I think that would be a very, very, very fun event to go to.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be super cool. I haven't been to a hockey game in a minute, and I've only seen really one D1 college hockey play, and we went up to Penn State one time to watch, and it was fucking phenomenal. So I'm just excited it's so close, you know, like you said, everything is literally 20, 30 minutes away. So that is, it's good and it's bad that I live central because everything's like 20, 25 minutes away. But I miss sometimes home being like, you know, usually everything's only 10 minutes away everywhere we want to go. So it's a little more gas. But yeah, it makes it seem like it's not a big city, Phoenix, just because everything's so spread out.
That's what was the wildest thing when I went out there and for the conference last year is like where we were at was very cool, but I didn't realize how spread out everything was going to be. Like once we figured out where you were and where I was, by the time like the conference was over, you were like 40 or 50 minutes away, but like geographically you weren't that far away. It's just like where everything was at. So I don't know. That makes sense. That makes sense.
It's tough, but yeah, excited for this weekend. Excited for that. Yeah, so hopefully that goes through. That'll be a good time. And yeah, just to see some hockey. And after watching that docuseries, I'm like all amped up on hockey. So sick it's back. I got my blades out here, obviously, and I've been blading a little bit. I got to find either a league with rollerblading or even just like ice out here or something, dude. I gotta play some puck, man. It's so fucking fun, and that'll just be a lot of fun. So we're gonna look into that. But
speaking of fun, are you excited that Russ is fully practicing back in his Steelers black and yellow, getting ready to prepare for his game this week? What are your thoughts on the Steelers? How do you feel? Obviously, they're 3-2. The defense is solid. Justin Fields, I think, is a stud. I'm not going to hate on Justin Fields, even though I think he looks like a frog, which, you know, it is what it is. Basically, what are your thoughts on the Steelers offense? And do you think there is a world where Russell Wilson actually plays?
I absolutely think there's a world that Russ plays. I don't think, like you said, I don't think Justin Fields is the issue. I don't think he is the problem in which the change needs to be made. It's kind of like a deteriorating culture a little bit that's been happening ever since, you know, Le'Veon left, you know, where some guys think they're bigger than the team a little bit and get fed up and don't want to buy in and don't want to keep their head and kind of get a little outspoken, outlandish when everyone's got to buy in, you know. Hockey is very much like that, where everyone's buying into the system, everyone respects everyone enough, and you know, everyone's willing to listen. And yeah, so Le'Veon leaves, you apologize once, come back. AB leaves, apologize once, come back. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are making the comments that George Pickens is going to be the next one, you know, because I guess there's been, you know, a little bit of attitude issues. I don't have a problem what happened at the end of the game of him pulling that guy's face mask. Don't care. But, you know, you can't be all fussy that you're not getting targets, and then when the ball comes, you're dropping them. So we had a lot of drops. We had a lot of drops for some deep balls that were right there. And it's kind of wild that, you know, you'll see the same person time after time and time make those long catches. You know, I'm talking about CeeDee Lamb. I'm talking about Justin Jefferson. I'm talking about Jamar Chase. Like, these guys go deep. The ball is coming. And if it's catchable, they're getting it, you know, and you don't even have to think about it.
Cortland Sutton, you missed one.
Cortland Sutton, you know, Jerry Jeudy back in the day, when he was with the orange and blue. But, you know, so many times, and there was multiple games where I saw people are wide open, balls like going right through their hands in the end zone or right near it. And it's like, you know, you're supposed to be the top 0.000 whatever 1%. And you're dropping balls that are right to you, and then you're going to go around and bitch that you're not getting targets. It's insane.
I also I think it's part of the younger generation of receivers. I think sometimes, and I'm not even just picking on George here. I mean, there's players all around the league that it's more so making the cool looking one-handed catch than it is actually securing the catch in the game. It's more so, how can I make this catch look cool for SportsCenter versus how can I actually catch this ball? And again, it's not all the time, but there are instances where you see these guys all over the league trying to make these one-handed catches that sometimes are justified. Sometimes their other arms are getting held, whatever it is. That's normal. But there are other times where it's like you could have used both arms here. So I don't know. I like George Pickens. I'm a fan. I think he's very talented. I just do wonder from a Steeler fan perspective how long they can sustain the whole defensive powerhouse being over 500 without having any kind of offensive juice. Like, there's really not one guy on the field right now for them that, you know, if he touches the ball, he can make a play and score. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're so reliant, and our salary cap shows that, you know, we're the highest paid defense, we're the lowest paid offense. So it might be surprising to outside people, but my buddy Connor, I mean, you guys know Connor, he literally texts me every fucking game. He's like, leave that defense on the field. We want him out there. We don't even want to see our offense on the field, because we have a better chance of scoring with our defense out there, I just think our game's very strange how it's played. Our defense got 3 turnovers, blocked punt. And it's not like we weren't able to move the ball, because we were moving the ball. But if the ball was in the 10-yard line, I do not have faith that we're scoring a touchdown, and that's an extreme issue. I will say Cordell Patterson wasn't in the game, and with him, we've been running it very well. Not to put Najee down.
Love him.
But
Always
Cordell Patterson has played very well.
Forever. Literally loved him when he played for the Falcons, loved him when he played for the Vikings. He was the Taysom Hill Swiss Army knife before the Taysom Hill Swiss Army knife existed. So big fan of Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, I mean he's there to fucking win. He'll play whatever position he needs to play, and he'll run it right up the hole. He doesn't care. So without having him hurt big time, and to be honest, for us to lose to whatever the Dallas Cowboys, which is ESPN's always top pick to win the fucking Super Bowl every year. Now,
always.
Not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. Rain played an extreme factor, so it's whatever. But damn, we were so close to winning. And the video I posted today, I had to put like the sound of silence. I thought it was just so funny. I'm like, oh, how did we lose last play of the game? Basically 4th down at 5, and he's just wide open. It's like, oh man.
Which that was crazy. I was at a wedding in Indy this past weekend, and they're all like Pittsburgh fans and whatnot, and it got delayed there for a little while. So by the time the wedding was over, it was kind of fun. We all went back to the hotel and went down and sat in the lobby and like watched it down there. So that was cool. Heartbreaking. But listen, I mean, we all know the NFL is so finicky. I mean, you have the Chiefs that are undefeated that, I mean, literally are just getting every call under the sun. It feels like one call a game. They're getting one where it's like any other team wouldn't have got it. I mean, listen, I'm to the point now to where I'm all in on the Broncos. I think we have dealt with enough ever since Peyton left to where I think we've had the most starting quarterbacks in the league. I think Bo Nix is the guy. Jalen Daniels, I believe, is probably going to end up being the best quarterback out of that rookie class, but I am comfortable enough to say that Caleb Williams is last when it comes to those quarterbacks. I love Bo Nix and Sean Payton's relationship. You already see them fighting on the sidelines, which means that's good. They want to win. They love each other. Like, that's football. Absolutely. The biggest takeaway, since I didn't get to watch the whole game, was those 1977 throwback unis that Denver wore this last week. I don't think I've seen a NFL uniform in the past, ever since I've been alive, that has been that sharp. Other than the new Houston kind of alternate uniforms are kind of sick, but I'm just a big fan of Bo Nix, and I just love that we have a good defense. Like we're kind of in that point again to where we have a defense to where if the young offense can't score, I know when the defense is out there, they can get stopped. So very, very excited to see how this is going. Crazy to see us. Now, I know we're only in week 6, but it's wild. We haven't been in the playoff picture in 10, 11, 12 years, whatever it may be. Actually, it might be 9 years or whatever it is.
Since Peyton.
Yeah. So things are turning around. I don't ever want to get too excited, but absolutely love Bo Nix. Very, very happy with that pick. Just kind of looking forward to this football season, boys. Just how it is, brother.
Yeah. I actually chose the Broncos in my Survivor Series this past week. I was thinking about you. And when it was about to be 17-3 Raiders, I was a little worried. And then the pick 6 happened.
And then PS2 came out and was like, the best quarterback in the league was like, house call, see ya. Yeah. Oh, man.
But I'm in this Survivor Series on DraftKings, $10 entry, 64,000 people started, 1,000 people left after 5 weeks. and I've used Denver Broncos, Dallas Cowboys, Seattle Chargers, and the Dolphins.
Dang, that's
So
pretty good.
I got a lot of big hitters left.
Yeah, dude. Of course, the one I joined, the whole trend was pick anybody that's playing the Panthers, and then we pick the team that Andy Dalton decides to start, and they just blow. I think it was against the Raiders. Yeah, against the Raiders, they just blow the Raiders out. So I'm out after week 3, which sucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it
Yep.
going. That'd be
Yep.
fucking insane. JT, how have you been, man?
I'm good. I got stuff in the oven. Hazel's crying. I'm about cashed out, to be honest with you guys.
It's fine.
Right.
But
Shut it down.
hey, Jake, thanks for hopping back on here. Tiggy Nation, love you as always. We didn't get to talk about Project 50, but we will catch up on it next time. You guys, you know what? You guys keep talking. I gotta go, but I think we're all just gonna hop off here. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.